What is up, guys? Good morning. Welcome back to the Transparency. Shanna Gardner's live hearing today. Mario Saldana, Henry Tenon, Jared Brydigan. Will the defendants or defendant be set a bond? Good morning. Anjanette Levy just did a video.
Everyone's been let in from the waiting room.
That's Henry Tenon. He had admitted to carrying out a hit, murdering Microsoft executive Jared Brydigan. Prosecutors say it happened at the request of Brydigan's ex-wife and her new husband, but now Tenon has withdrawn his guilty plea as text messages that prosecutors claim discuss a years-long murder plot come to light. I go over the latest developments in the murder of Jared Brydigan. I'm Anjanette Levy, and this is Crime Fix.
Good morning, Anjanette. How we doing? We're going to fast forward to this.
Brydigan was shot to death in Jacksonville Beach, Florida. And this August, his ex-wife, Shanna Gardner, and her estranged husband, Mario Fernandez Saldana, will go on trial accused of conspiring to kill Jared. And when that trial begins, there will be now a third co-defendant, Henry Tenon. Tenon was a former tenant of Fernandez Saldana's who had admitted as part of a plea deal to shooting and killing Brydigan. He said he was hired to do it. Tenon had pleaded guilty to second-degree murder and agreed to testify against Gardner and Saldana, but now that's not going to happen. Before I get to the why of why that's not going to happen, let's do a quick recap of the case. Shanna Gardner met Jared Brydigan in 2009 while visiting a friend in Florida. The following year, they married. When they married, they were both devout Mormons, but things started to go south once their twins were born in 2013. And not long after, Gardner filed for divorce and she asked for full custody of the twin girls. Fast forward a few years, and Jared Brydigan and Shanna Gardner,
it's a boy and a girl.
They've divorced and they're both remarried. Gardner to Fernandez Saldana and Jared to his wife, Kristen. Prosecutors say Shanna's motive to murder Jared has a few things at play. First, their divorce and custody arrangement for the twins was contentious. Brydigan wanted to raise the girls in the Mormon faith, and they believed Shanna Gardner could have full access to a trust fund if Jared Brydigan was dead. Prosecutors say they uncovered years-old text messages in which Gardner said she wished that Brydigan would just disappear, and she and her friends talked in code about wanting Jared dead. Now we're getting a look at those text messages that prosecutors plan to use as evidence at trial. We're seeing them for the very first time. This text exchange between Shanna and her friend Kim Jensen is from May of 2015. Shanna wrote, "I'm just not having a good day." Kim Jensen responded, "Don't write the day off as bad yet. I'm still trying to send stupid to prison." She added, "If I can't make a casserole, prison is the next best option." There are more text messages, some from 2016, where prosecutors say that
You guys notice how that was not Shanna Gardner that was writing that?
the women spoke in code. On July 17, 2016, Kimmy wrote to a woman named Susan Lee, "Shanna needs a guy." Susan Lee responded, "What kind of guy?"
These women are like 50, 60 years old. You know, this is the most like the highlight of their life in 2015 being in the drama, you know?
Kimmy responded, "The kind that performs permanent disappearing acts on certain people." Kimmy added, "Know any magicians?" Susan Lee responded, "Magician. No, that I do not." "For stupid?" she asked. Kimmy responded, "I was thinking Thomas, LOL."
He leaves out the LOL when Detective Johns talked about this.
Susan Lee responded, "He isn't a magician, but I'll ask if he knows any." Susan added, "I'm sure her ex knows a few."
Remember, these are African-American males that they're like, oh, since, hey, you're married to a black man, he's probably into some gangsta shit.
We've heard about these text messages and read about them, but now we're seeing them in this drop of discovery. And these texts are from 2016. Prosecutors contend this shows that Shanna Gardner had murder on her mind for years. On the same day, another set of messages between Shanna and Kimmy were released. Shanna wrote, "I'm at church. I'm fabulous," with a straight face emoji, "my favorite place on earth." Kimmy responded, deep breaths. It's going to be okay. I'll talk to you as soon as you get out. Just
What's
breathe.
up, Johnny?
You'll work out all of this frustration at the gym later. And then part of the text is blacked out as a redaction citing an active criminal investigation. Kimmy then typed, he hates him. Kimmy added, if not, I know Sue's husband knows people, LOL. Shayna responded, just when I think doing this whole 1 week off/on thing is a good idea, it gives me such great pleasure imagining slitting his throat. The next text message is also blacked out. It's redacted, citing it's protected because it could include the substance of a confession or information about an informant. Now, these text messages are confession.
Unknown direction. Receive, unknown direction.
Or information.
How do they not know that?
About an informant. Now, these text messages are from 2016, a full 5.5 years before Jared Bridegan was murdered. There are
with two women who are 60.
Also text messages from August of 2022, months after Jared was murdered, where Shayna tells Kimmy, I don't want anyone to know. And Kimmy responds, I'm not.
What? I don't want anyone to know what? That I got my period? I mean, what?
Prosecutors will introduce these to show that Shanna Gardner had a years-long, deep-seated hatred for Jared and had possibly plotted to murder him for many, many years. But what will the defense do? Well,
that shit's inadmissible as fuck.
They may just say this is a frustrated ex-wife blowing off steam to friends and that prosecutors are simply reading too much into these texts. Also released this report showing the ATF conducted what they called a controlled call with a cooperating witness on October 7th, 2023. The report is marked.
That would be Jeremy Ordwell. That's who that is.
Restricted. The report states the person who is the subject of an active criminal investigation told Fernandez Saldana the ATF had forced entry into the residence.
This is the same guy where the tire was found at the house on Potomac when Henry Tenon just happens to arrive.
The previous day, damaging the front door's lock, which required repair. The person said he or she had multiple items taken from the house. During the conversation, the person told Fernandez Saldana they were looking for something, then asked Fernandez Saldana if he had anything at the house. Fernandez Saldana replied he did not own anything in the residence. The call lasted 4 minutes, 8 seconds. The evidentiary value of this call isn't clear at this point, but it could become more clear at trial. At the time that Jared Bridegan was murdered in February of 2022, he had remarried to a woman named Kristen. I mentioned that earlier, and he was happy. But Jared still shared those twins with Shanna Gardner, and prosecutors say that was part of this years-long plot to carry out Jared's murder. Prosecutors will say that Shayna wanted full custody of the twins and full access to that trust fund I mentioned, and that was the motive. So the theory is that Shanna Gardner and her estranged husband hired 62-year-old Henry Tenon to kill
without paying him any money. You want me to do what? You want me to shoot a man with no money? And I'm just supposed to think that you're going to pay me on the back end in checks. Oh, fuck out of here.
Kill Jared Bridegan. Tenon was a tenant of Fernandez Saldana's. Prosecutors have already revealed these checks written by Fernandez Saldana to Tenon for thousands of dollars. One is labeled a Kickstarter. It says good luck in the memo line. On February 16th, 2022, Jared Bridegan was murdered in Jacksonville Beach with his 2-year-old daughter strapped in her car seat.
Awful.
A police summary says Bridegan was driving home on a dark, isolated road named Sanctuary Boulevard with his 2-year-old daughter. He stopped, put on his hazard lights, and stepped out to remove a large tire lying in the roadway. That is when he shot multiple times. At first,
now it's going to be interesting because I don't believe that he stepped out of the vehicle. I think the reenactment is going to show that he didn't get out of the vehicle. But that's just my take on it after reading the discovery. But they can say that he stepped out. They can say whatever they want. They need 2 vehicles to pull this off because there's ring camera footage and there's eyewitnesses, and we have a car that's going in reverse and backing up. when it's like leaving the scene. So, you guys, I don't need to. There's a tire in the middle of the road. He has an SUV. He could have went around that. I believe that there was a person, there was a vehicle with the tire in the road, because how are you going to make sure that he stops? Okay, you understand? I think that it was an ambush style, which means that you need two vehicles. There'd be a car in front and there's a car behind. And I believe that's what the evidence is going to show, because there's a bunch of ring cameras and different camera footage. Anyways, that would mean that you would need a driver of the one car, a driver of the second car. Okay. And then they're trying to say that there was somebody on foot that came out named Henry Tenon and just started blasting. But that Henry Tenon was not in either of the vehicles. This is going to be absolutely wild. Because the state has lost their star witness. Because their star witness was like, I never shot anybody. Okay. You guys got me to false confess. All right. And so now here, ready for this? Guess whose DNA is on the shell casings at the scene? And it was actually on one of them, but Jared Bridegan. Jared Bridegan's DNA. So you know how you would normally take a gun and you load the gun? Okay. How did Jared's DNA, okay, get on like the bullets when they were loaded? But the shell casings, at least one of them, it's a single profile and it's Jared's. I thought that was it's going to be extremely interesting at trial. Again, this is a case that I know every single detail. We will be covering this from gavel to gavel. I'll be going to Jacksonville a lot. Also, I have the luxury of having Shanna Gardner's attorney, bad bitch Diane. She's in Columbus. Okay. And that's right down the street. I mean, I'm in Columbus. Where her office is right down the street. Like literally. I should probably just fucking DoorDash her this morning and say, go get him, champ. So we are covering this case. I've been covering this case. And I'm trying to get other people to cover this case. And then music to my ears, Anjanette Levy does this fucking crime fix. And I'm like, ah! You guys know Anjanette Levy is my girl. Okay, she's an Ohio girl too. Yeah. You know, if I got in my car and Anjanette got in her car, we could be meeting up for lunch in about 30. If you guys haven't been over to her actually personal channel, just type in Anjanette Levy. It's going to come right up. Click, like, subscribe, do all that fun stuff. I'm telling you, if there's a media personality in true crime that is fair and is willing to listen and be open-minded, it's her. Anjanette was back in the day when she did the Stephen Avery case. I was like, Anjanette, you were such a young pup. Look at you, girl. And I'm like, I mean, you're still young. Whoops.
Bridegan's murder appeared to be random, but there were some things that showed it was anything but, including that tire in the road. Security footage recorded a pickup truck in the area at the time of the murder, which led Jacksonville Beach police to Henry Tenon.
Okay, so guess what they did in this case? They released this image, okay? In the Idaho 4 case, we get a stock image. But actually, in this case, what do we get? They released that little clip there. That's what came out to all of us back in the day. And it was like, do you know anybody that was driving this truck? But ready for this? Ooh. This case is going to show you how and what the ATF did and how Lindsay Butler got involved day one. And she is like a me. She's a criminal researcher. Okay. But she's got all the fun tools. Okay. I don't have as many tools as she does. But if I had those type of tools, ooh. But she's a researcher and goes through stuff and connects dots and stuff like that. Okay. Lindsay Butler, ATF, went to the University of Cincinnati. I was like, oh my God, girl. Well, then either she lied or she was lied to, but that's going to be an amazing story all in of itself.
Police would later discover Tenon was Fernandez Saldana's tenant.
Yeah, but wasn't currently. That's the other thing that we really need to talk about, because according to Henry's friends, he didn't have a home, which I think is really bizarre. They said that he was living out of his vehicle. So I can't wait to hear more about that. Also, the timeline of when they got these search warrants for different things and how they got Henry's email address. Ooh, I cannot wait to see how this all pops off. Again, we're going to see corruption like a motherfucker in this case. The prosecutor, her name is Stifler. I mean, Stifler, come on. That's hilarious. And then the guy's name is Maserati. Well, it's pretty close to Maserati, so I just call him Maserati. So we got Stifler riding a Maserati. Okay. And then we have Jose Baez, Patrick Cordy, and Diane Maneshi. Come on. This is going to be Crunch Town.
Prosecutors say,
and I'm here for it. Mario Saldana now has been held for 3 years, and he's been held off of basically no evidence. The evidence that he's being held on is just the fact that Henry Tenon false confessed to being the shooter, and that, oh yeah, you said what? Mario paid me? Okay, yeah, I'll say that.
Fernandez Saldana was going to pay Tenon $150,000 to carry out that hit. 18 months after the murder, a grand jury indicted both Gardner and Fernandez Saldana for their roles in this plot.
3026. They're making contact at the front door right now.
On August 17th, 2023.
They did it staggered, remember? So Henry Tenon gets arrested for a traffic violation in August of 2022. Completely not related to the crime, but really it was. It was to get him and put him in jail, to basically shake that tree. Okay? Because when was the controlled call? October of 2022. Okay? With Jeremy Orwell. That would have been after Henry Tenon was arrested. And it was to see if they can get Saldana to talk. You know, like what they did in the Adelson case, kind of, right?
Officers took Shanna Gardner into custody.
So before Shanna Gardner gets arrested here in August of 2023, which you guys know how I feel about that, her lawyer said, hey, she's wanting just to turn herself in. We do not want it to be a scene over with the kids at the house. She's been staying in right outside of Jacksonville. She's been staying at an Airbnb, and she just wants to, if you're going to arrest her, she's coming in. Here you go. There's no reason to arrest me at my in front of my kids and put them through anything. Okay. We clearly knew that you have been were your people of interest since day one, and there was no looking anywhere else. Okay. My kids aren't going to go through this. If you think that you're going to arrest me, I just call me up, call my lawyer up, and I will come right through the doors. Well, we can't do that. We can't do that. We need to make a scene, because we need to be able to have a body-worn camera on all of these officers so that the media can have this material, because it's damaging, because it's going to make you look like, it's going to inflame.
In Washington State, it takes several minutes, but Gardner finally emerges from the home.
Okay. It's going to be the white vehicle back there.
None of this was necessary. If you say you care about kids, you don't do this. If you say you care about kids, this is not how you do things, right? We got to win our case, though, because our case is so weak. And Henry Tenon's already saying that he wants to get out of this plea deal. And it's only August of 2023.
We'll go to the passenger.
So that happens August of 2023. Shanna Gardner said love you to her kids. August of 2023. In March of 2023, that's when Mario Saldana was arrested. So it was all staggered. Not everybody was arrested all at the same time or anything like that. It was strategic and what came of it. Bringing up goose eggs.
Your side. Yep.
Yes. The ATF
That's
there?
her medicines. I don't know if they don't want to do with it, but
Is that Lindsay Butler? Is that Alyssa Simons? I know everybody in this case, and you guys are going to know them like how I know them.
this is from our prescription. So we'll follow you over to.
So, detective was saying going to the PD. We do have interview rooms
Perfect.
within the PD, so we could take her over there,
That's that
pull
works.
her out.
Yeah, if you want
She also has a lawyer.
to bring her there, and then we'll follow behind you, and we'll go in.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so this is what's unique about this case. Because they waited so long to arrest everybody in the case, Mario Saldana and Shanna Gardner both got attorneys really early on in this case after Jared was murdered, as I recommend any and everybody to do. Mario and Shanna Gardner and her parents all did interviews and everything with the police down at the station. So Shanna Gardner and Mario Saldana have client attorney privilege all throughout their phones and their emails and everything because they started talking to attorneys right away, like you're supposed to.
So, just a heads up, I don't know if the jail is going to take anything not in the bottle. Okay. Otherwise, it looks like everything else is good to go.
I'll leave y'all up to whatever you're.
Okay, well, you should have told her that. That's the other thing that I think is ridiculous. Okay? If you know that the jail is not going to take anything that's not in a bottle, you'd be telling Shanna Gardner that, right? Hey, they're not going to take any of your medicine that's not you. So if you have stuff already split off because you have like your pills like that, what I suggest here is you have your regular bottles because you're going to need to put the stuff back in the bottles. Okay?
Whatever you guys decide.
We could try, but I think the jail will probably say no to that.
That's fine.
Look at all of this. All of this, right? For when Shanna was literally staying in Florida. This is in Washington. And her lawyer reached out numerous times to the prosecutors and said everything I just said. Hey, if you're going to be arresting Shanna, she is here in Florida. She ignoring. And then so they could do this.
Mileage is 10.1. Perfect, thank you.
Mileage is 10.1. They are doing everything by the book here. Now, it's going to come up in this trial because Jose Baez is going to make a very big deal about it. About the fact that the prosecutor never got back to, at the time, her lawyer was last name Cox. I mean, we have a Stifler, we have a Cox, we have a Maserati. The names in this case are just, they just make me laugh. So get ready to laugh.
A time confessed hitman who was supposed to be the state's star witness at trial.
How old's your dog? How old's your dog?
Look at how lanky Henry Tenon is here.
Oh, dang, still a puppy.
Look at him.
Pretty little dog. Hello.
Exactly a year earlier, police came across Tenan. They took him into a
Look at this. Okay, so he had this Crown Victorian, right? This is a year earlier. And in that trunk, they found a 1915, like, it was his dad's, he said. His dad had just passed. And it was a collector's item. It was an antique gun. They literally held him on gun charges, saying that he was a felon and he couldn't have gun charges. Or maybe he wasn't. Was he not a felon? I think he was. Anyways, they knew, though, that is not, nope. You were allowed to have antique guns. That gun could not shoot. That's what they kept him in jail for 6 months until they went ahead and charged him with the murder of Jared Bradigan.
Exactly a year earlier, police came across Tenan. They took him into an interview room, and he was there for a long, long time, more than 5 hours.
But guess what we can't control? What's next?
Every day.
That's what we get to control, Henry. What's next? How am I remembered? How do I want to go out of this world? A man of character, a man who did what's right, or just some chump? Because that's what we're being played for right now, is chumps. We ain't no chumps, Henry. I know you ain't no chump. When I said respect, I meant it. I give you the same respect you give me. You've been respectful to me. I haven't raised my voice at you. You haven't raised your voice at me. We've disagreed. We know we're not on the same page, but we both know we can get there. We both know that. I know you.
Much of Henry Tenon's police interview
The guy to the right here, down to the right, that's Detective Johns, down to the bottom corner right. Okay.
is redacted, likely because he makes admissions. Then he asks for a lawyer.
He doesn't make any admissions in this. The closest thing that he gets, I believe what this square over here is about and covering is whatever they have on the table, whatever they're showing him. Okay. Which I think they showed crime scene photos. I think they're showing stuff like, yeah.
I don't think I need an attorney.
Tenan had pleaded guilty to second-degree murder, and he agreed to testify against Gardner
All he says there is, I think that I need an attorney.
and Fernandez Saldana at trial. He would be their star witness, but now that is no longer happening.
And good morning, Your Honor. Julie Schlacks appearing on behalf of Mr. Tenan. Your Honor, we did file on Friday a motion to withdraw his previously entered plea, and the court was kind enough to place the case on the calendar this morning for us to determine when during the week the court had time to do that. Okay.
Henry Tenon has withdrawn his guilty plea. He's rolling the dice, and he's going to trial.
Because, ding, 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 that man is not the shooter. That man is not the shooter. I went through the documents again last night, and for the DNA, everything that they had at the crime scene, whose DNA, where was it, blah, 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 blah. He's not the shooter.
On Friday, we did file this motion to withdraw plea pursuant to 3.170 subsection F. And specifically, we're asking this court to use her discretion and allow Mr. Tenon to have a trial on the merits in his case. Your Honor, we have not alleged any wrongdoing. We are just simply asking the court to use her available discretion, since Mr. Tenon has not been sentenced, to set this case for trial and proceed.
Right there. Everybody should ask themselves, why wasn't Henry Tenon sentenced yet? He gave and signed all this plea deal in before Mario Saldana was ever, arrested, and any of the search warrants came. That all happened he was arrested in January of 2024. I'm sorry, in 2023. And then Mario was in March, and then Shanna was in August, and he signed March 16th, 2023, Henry, with this supposed plea deal and him being the shooter. Yeah, remember, they kept him out of a courtroom for 2+ years because his original attorney, Alan Copperfield, complete fucking piece of shit. He knew that Henry Tenon wanted out of this because he calls it false testimony. And it is false testimony because you're swearing under, if you're signing a statement.
What's a good cause? We are not articulating the good cause, Your Honor. That's why we are simply asking under 3.170 for the court to use her ability to grant a trial on the merits. Okay.
And the state has no objection to the court granting that motion moving forward to a trial. The state of the state is not filing.
That's Maserati. And to the right is Stifler. Stiffy and Mozzie.
Motion from the state's perspective, to have the defendant's plea agreement undone.
They tried to have secret meeting with Henry Tenon. They tried to have a secret meeting with Susan Lee and Kim Jensen. Susan Lee was one of the text messages, and Kim Jensen. They tried to bring in those two women and try to name them as co-conspirators and said that we're going to charge you with second-degree murder, all this crazy shit. What has gone on in this case?
They have no objection. The court sets this proceeds to sentencing right now, or in the next few weeks with the defendant. So we leave it up to the court's discretion. We have no objection to the granting of the motion.
The judge then questioned Henry Tenon about what exactly he wanted to do.
So what do you want? Let me just put it simply. What do you want to do? Do you want to maintain your plea or do you want to try?
Withdraw.
I want a trial, baby. I want a trial. I didn't kill anybody.
You got it. It's granted.
You got it. It's granted.
Thank
you. Yes, sir.
Permission to withdraw. His plea is granted.
Granted across the board.
Thank you, Your Honor. You're welcome.
So there you hear it. He wants a trial. So all three defendants are going on trial for the murder of Jared Bridegan. A jury will decide whether there is enough evidence to find all of them guilty.
And before we can even get to a trial, guys, which it is slated to happen in August because this has been going on for a while, we get to have like suppression hearings. We get to have, pre-trial hearings. And the biggest one that's coming our way is live here today. Let me look at my docket. We should be getting in the courtroom here. Is ready. Mario Saldana wants released. He wants released. Okay. He wants released he wants a bond set. He wants his bond hearing and he's going to make bail. I think that he should because guess what? If you go based off of the law, okay, and the statutes in Florida, yeah. So today's a big motion. Today's a hearing. It's a status conference. And then there's motions that haven't been ruled on, but now they added, Fernandez has added. They took the death penalty off the table, which then also now, since the death penalty is off the table, Shanna Gardner can then now say, hey, this isn't a death penalty case. What you're using against me is that guy has recanted. That guy says he wants a trial. And what's going on here? So is everybody going to be released here? Ooh, the state has royally fucked this case up. Royally.
Of the
and then yesterday we reached out to Duval County Court and we reached out to a woman that does transcripts. Okay. And we put in to see if we can get theirs. They've had 27 depositions so far, if not more. And there's a couple depositions that I want. And I'm willing to pay for the audio and then have somebody transcribe it. Or if you guys would rather just hear it in its audio form. So they're letting me know if I can get my hands on that. But in Florida, it's a lot different. So, and if it's not sealed, and right now it's not.
Conspiracy to murder Jared Bridegan or not. I should mention that all of them have pleaded not guilty. So the trial will start in August.
And I'm curious to see where they're going to squeeze in Henry Tenon here. Henry Tenon did waive his right to a speedy trial, but it's almost like you have to have Henry Tenon's trial, in my opinion, potentially before theirs. So we'll see. Lana, do you know who did it? I personally believe that a guy by the name of Biggerstaff is involved. But we'll see. Biggerstaff used to be an ex-cop. He used to work for the sheriff's department over there in Jacksonville. His son is Juan Biggerstaff. His son is a cop in Texas. But prior to all of this, Mario Saldana is a swinger. And Mario Saldana was sleeping with John Biggerstaff's wife, Maria. There's photographs of them on phones and stuff. But John Biggerstaff, he had a little problem, okay, back in the day. Let's just say that. And Jared was shot with a 10 millimeter, and Juan Biggerstaff owned a 10 millimeter, which is now nowhere to be found. So, but these little these little redacted names, because they're cooperating witnesses, all that shit's gonna come out. Like, why are you? These people should be charged. These people, like, it's like the Adelson case. Nobody's getting a deal here. Nobody became an informant. But in this case, it's really, really weird how this all happened. So I believe that there's a cop or ex-cop involved. So,
And that is
so I want to thank Anjanette Levy for, boom. I was like, hell yeah. Because I'm trying to get people to cover this case. People need to cover this case. And with the Tepe murders, Diane's, Michael McKee's lawyer here in Ohio. So to follow this case, and then to go from this case into the Tepe murders would be a really good way to see Diane and her abilities in real time and how you juggle like all these murder cases. I mean, I think it's pretty extraordinary. So let's take a look here. Jacksonville is supposed to be in the courtroom. First news. I swear if they friggin' tried to cancel anything on us. All right, I'm on his docket. Just like in the Idaho 4 case, we're already on the state's 15th supplemental discovery exhibit, just so you guys know. And what's our page number? Let's see. It's in Florida, yeah. Okay. First, I want to say it's First News. First Coast News, Jacksonville. Here we go. Got them. And we're starting. They're starting at 9:30, so it's perfect timing. Here we go. Oh my God. Remember how I said I need the camera to change and be moved? Oh my God. Look at these people. Look at them listening to me. Oh my God. This is amazing. I'm so pumped. Oh, yes. Remember how the camera was always from behind? And I'm like, this is ridiculous. Oh, this is perfect. Hell yes. Dude, I just said this yesterday. I was like, I want to see, because there's nobody in the witness stand yet, So this is the view they're giving us today. So over here on the left-hand side, there's Stifler and Alan Masarahi. And then on the right-hand side, there's Dresser, Jesse, right there in the blue. That's Mario's main lawyer. Also, Shannon Day. I think that's the girl right next to him. And then there's Mario that's in the green. And then behind on the right-hand side of the second table, Shanna Gardner's over at that table to the right. And then that looks like Patrick Cordy. So Shanna Gardner's team is Patrick Cordy, Jose Baez, and Diane. So let's see what this view brings. I just wanted them to go for a side view. Like over there, what they let us do for like the Tepe case you use where the jury box is, that's where they were setting up all the cameras. So you got like that side view so you could see, you know, the witness spot, you could see everything. And so I just don't understand why they're not setting up over there where the jury box is. Because the only thing that's not cool with this view is that you can't even see Judge Kite now. Jose is on Zoom. Diane is on Zoom.
Good morning.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Turn up the volume. All right, we're having a sidebar. Thank you for that classic clippy tip. I'm trying to see if I can see Henry Tenon's lawyer would want to be there. I'm curious if that's her in the first row with the blonde hair behind where Shanna Gardner's sitting. She'd want to hear all of this. Okay, so Jacksonville's rolling with 2 cameras. The one that's going to be, you see in the back of the courtroom. And then they have the one up here. So good morning, Mary. Yes, I agree. I think the judge is fair. We'll see. I think that's what makes a good judge is just it's fair. You're calling balls and strikes, you know? So welcome on in. Oh, God.
Could I see some representatives from the media outlets, please?
Oh, okay. All right. So remember, if you're just joining us, Mario Saldana's attorney basically wanted Henry Tenon to answer interrogatories. And so I went and printed off the interrogatories that they wanted to ask Henry Tenon. And this just should tell you guys that the state never asked any of these questions, such as how much did Mario Saldana allegedly agree to pay you to commit the homicide of Jared Bradigan? In total, how much money did you actually receive from Mr. Fernandez? If you received any money, how did you receive payment for the homicide of Jared Bradigan, including but not limited to cash, check, crypto, PayPal, Venmo, and other online payment systems? Number 5 is in the state's discovery. It is alleged that on the night of the homicide, that there were several phones used in connection to the homicide. Who possessed and utilized each of the following phones on February 16th, 2022? And it says A, B, and C. And it's 10 and 1, 10 and 2, 10 and 3, and it lists 3 different cell phone numbers. Now, it's interesting because in the ATF's report that I have from all of the cellular analysis that they did and just the draft report, and they only talk about 2 cell phones, and it's called the devices, and it's 2. So here, this is the first time that I'm ever hearing that there were 3 phones involved. So what that tells me is that John Biggerstaff, in my opinion, or Jeremy Ordwell, one of them, is going to testify and going to say that they had one of those phones, again, in my opinion. So it's either going to be J.O. or JB. But guess what? If this is something that only the killer or killers would know, And so to not get Henry to talk about this and explain how this all went down is bizarre, because he doesn't know, and the state knew that he didn't know. Next, the state, Mario's team was like, in the state's discovery, it is alleged that on January 29th, so 2 weeks before, you and Mr. Fernandez drove together to St. Johns County, Jacksonville Beach, and back to then the Potomac residence. What address or residence did you and Mr. Fernandez leave from? Like, where did you go that day? They want to ask him to see if he even knows what the heck they're alleging. And he doesn't know any of these answers, you guys, because he did not do this. Did you and Mario Fernandez meet in person on January 29th? If yes, where and when did you meet, Mr. Fernandez? What vehicle did Mr. Fernandez drive to meet you? Where did Mr. Fernandez park his vehicle upon meeting you? Upon meeting Mr. Fernandez, where did you go and what did you do? Did Mr. Fernandez travel to the above places with you? If yes, did he bring his cell phone? Because guess what? Mario's cell phone is not doing any of the sorts of any of this shit. And then the last question is if yes, did you meet or travel with anyone besides Mr. Fernandez on January 29th? Because this is like, hey, if there's another co-conspirator, right? Henry Tenon should know this, right? But this is the better question. All of these questions, they should have already been asked and answered by Henry, and it's never happened to this day. And it's like, what do you expect this man to get up and testify to? And then lastly, what date or approximate date, if unsure, did you admit directly to the state's attorneys, or any representative from the state's attorney's office that you were involved and killed Jared Bridegan? Crazy, huh? For a defense attorney to put in that we want him to answer interrogatories before we do our deposition, because we only have an hour with him. Sleuther 75, 10 memberships. Cheers. My question is why does he have so many phones? Where does Henry get income to pay for them? Right?
So we're off the record for a moment. I was giving the media an opportunity to contact their counsel if they wanted. Do you still need a moment, or can we?
What's going on?
Proceedings.
We better.
Start. Okay. All right. Let me see the lawyers one more time.
The issue might be that he's not paying for them. What the fuck is going on? This is not a closed hearing. They're just going to make them only use the back camera, I bet. Did they just seal the hearing? I don't think so. Hey, DB, can you send me that timeline? I think I found something. Wait, last night I was gonna message you, but I was like, it's too late. Hey DB. Hey Lana. Also, something that happened in this case is the state was setting up geofences all over the place. Okay. Then what I mean by that is within the 7 days, okay, I was trying to pay attention to, like, they were going around the city and literally setting up geofences to preserve data. Okay. And what I want to show everybody is this is exactly how it would have been done in the Idaho 4 case, because this is with like the ATF, FBI. This is like when you talk about like their resources and stuff, writing up the warrants and things like that. Guess who wrote up some of the warrants in this case? Just like how they did in the Idaho 4 case, Ashley Jennings, Bill Thompson. So just like in the Idaho 4 case, the prosecutor writing up these search warrants or these preservation requests and approving them, that was done by Miss Stifler. And she was setting up geofences all over the place. And I want to put on a table, on an Excel tablet. I want to make a table so I can show you guys through Excel the dates of when she set up each of the geofences, because what you're preserving is any phones going in and out of those geofences, and that means that area that at that time, and any phone numbers or IMEI numbers, all of that stuff. And this is what is the big ticket right now is, are geofences, unconstitutional? Because basically it's like, if you live or were in the area of a crime, you're automatically like, hey, your privacy is just, gone. Look at that, what I tell you guys. They didn't probably get approval to have that camera that was up top. Oh, now we're back. What's going on? Stifler looks like she's lost some weight. Not that she was fat or anything. I'm just, in her face, it looks just thinner. That's all. Simple Me says, I don't think Henry is the shooter. Yeah, he's not the shooter. I think that if anything, that his truck was used and he didn't even know what his truck was being used for. If that's what's going on here. Where's the volume? What's going on? Why is Shanna Gardner leaving? Do these people not know? Maybe she had to use the restroom. And so they're waiting. Do they not realize that the volume's not on? I'd rather have volume than picture. The hearing hasn't started yet, though, so. God, they always have issues. Shanna Gardner just left, so. Oh, wow. All right, so the state filed a motion to deny bail. There's 11 pages. They filed it 3/4/2026. And First Coast News, they know that there's no volume, just so everybody knows that. Let's see. Right before Christmas, they filed another bill of particulars. So facts and procedural history. On February 1st, 2023, the state filed an information charging the co-defendant Henry Tenon with 1 count of murder in the second degree with a weapon, 1 count of conspiracy to commit murder, 1 count of accessory after the fact, 1 count of child abuse. This information contained limited material regarding the specifics of the crimes charged. For the charge of conspiracy to commit murder, the state only lists the time frame of the alleged offense. It says on or between January 4th of 2022 to February 16th, 2022. So what the state was alleging is that on or between those two dates, January 4th of 2022 to February 16th, which is the day of the murder, that they conspired. Okay, so the relevant defendants and the language from the statute regarding the actions required of the crime. You're going to tell me that you just solicited Henry Tenon to get involved January 4th? On March 16th, 2023, the state filed an indictment charging the defendant, Mario Saldana Fernandez, with 1 count of murder. In the first degree, 1 count of conspiracy to commit murder. This indictment contained limited information regarding the specifics of the crimes charged. For the charges of conspiracy to commit murder and solicitation to commit a capital felony, the state only lists the time frame of the alleged offenses, which is on or between November 1st of 2021 to February 16th, 2022. So I know what Mario was arguing leading up to this hearing was we have different dates of everything. Like, how could it be that on November 1st of 2021 to February 16th, when you're going to be charging Mario, okay, but when you charge Henry Tenon, it's like basically what they're alluding to is that there was like this drip of like just adding people to this conspiracy. So Mario and Shanna and Gardner, basically the state's saying that between November 1st, 2021 and February 16th, that's when they conspired, because then it says, or is it between May 1st, 2015 and March 16th, 2023? Because Mario did not know Gardner in 2015. All 3 listed co-defendants have been indicted with separate date ranges of the offenses charged, meaning the state alleges that the co-defendants entered the conspiracy under different factual circumstances and at different times. Currently, the defense is in the midst of the discovery process. As the court is well aware, the discovery in this case is extremely voluminous and amounts to terabits of data. This discovery includes, but not limited to, the following: 4.34 terabits of poll camera footage, 2.15 terabits of cell phone device data, 78 recorded interviews, approximately 150 subpoenas, that's ATF, and their corresponding returns, approximately 57 search warrants, that's Jacksonville Police, and their corresponding returns, approximately 1,000 jail calls, hundreds of reports from various law enforcement / state agencies, and much more. At this time, defense counsel has not filed any motions or pleadings on the merits of the case. The prior motions and pleadings have been related to numerous discovery issues. The purpose of the bill of particular is A, to give Mr. Fernandez notice of the particular acts that the state relies on to establish the crime charged, and B, to enable Mr. Fernandez to be fully advised of the nature of the cause of the accusation and have the opportunity to adequately prepare a defense. Due to the voluminous discovery, the fact that Mr. Fernandez is charged as a principal in a conspiracy, and the fact that other 2 indicted co-conspirators have different date ranges, a bill of particulars is necessary in this case. Mr. Fernandez can move for a bill of particulars to secure necessary and specific information from the state. Brady versus State. The granting of a bill of particulars is in a criminal case is a matter within the discretion of the trial court. In certain cases, in certain classes of cases, such as the instant case, a statement of particulars is proper so the defendant can adequately prepare a defense. This prevents you from going and being able to, did they stop the thing? What the heck is going on? What the fuck? This is Tina with What the Fuck Transition Services. They usually come back with something. What just happened there? Ugh. This is what I think. I think that Gardner knew that Fernandez was at home. Bastards. So when the shooting happened, so she's like, I know that he didn't kill Jared because I was at home, you know? But again, hold on. Well, that was very strange because normally somebody gives somebody time to do something. So what they did is like, they're like, you can just roll film. And did they think that they had the sound on? We're going to find out. As I was saying, more about what they were asking for is the statement of particulars has long been used in difficult and complex cases where clarification is needed. Here, it is neither fair nor reasonable to require Mr. Fernandez and his counsel to sift through mountains of discovery to find a needle in a haystack when the information is readily available to the state, who should already know this specific information prior to filing an indictment or information. Mr. Fernandez is charged with 1 count of conspiracy to commit murder and 1 count of solicitation to commit a capital offense. While the indictment does allege the specific dates, parties involved, etc., it does not explain what facts, acts, or agreements transpired to begin this conspiracy. The same is true for the other co-conspirators. Given that the law requires a specific fact, act, or agreement to begin a conspiracy, and the prosecuting attorney alleges a date in which they believe this fact, act, or agreement started the conspiracy, although 3 separate dates in this instant case, the defense should not be left to guess or sift through terabits of discovery to learn what fact, act, or agreement constitutes the beginning date of this conspiracy. Mr. Fernandez is requiring that the state provide the specific nature of the accusations in order to adequately prepare a defense. Mr. Fernandez is not asking the state to provide its theory of the case or how it will prove the agreement existed, but rather what fact, act, or agreement the state alleges was made, constituting the beginning of each of the co-defendants charged. Without being provided the narrowly requested information, Mr. Fernandez is unable to adequately present a defense. Requiring defense counsel to work without sufficient information as we proceed towards trial would be unfairly prejudicial. In addition, moving forward without this information would be overly burdensome and costly for Mr. Fernandez. And so that was filed right before Christmas, Christmas Eve. And so today was to address, there was a ton of things that needed to be addressed in this hearing. And then they added, he wants bail. And I'm like, he should get bail, you know? So the state, so I went and looked, court order for release of redacted evidence. Court order denying defendant's motion to issue interrogatories. That's great, but what about the other thing? Yeah. So then you have So after asking for that bill of particulars, right, the state doesn't file anything to combat that, like to say, here you go. Very bizarre. Prior to all of that was they got the death penalty off the table. But I think that there should be a bill of particulars. Like, when did Henry Tenon, and now they're all fucked because when did Henry Tenon and Mario Saldana talk and agree that and make this, hey, I don't really know you that well. You're my tenant, but I was wondering if maybe you could just be my hitman. Can you just be my hitman? And then I'm just gonna, like, you know, I'm gonna give you like 150,000, but I'm just gonna have to like give it to you like after the fact. And I mean, how does that conversation just come up? You know? But the state should know all of this, right? Because they talked to Mr. Tenon, right? Because he confessed to being the shooter, right? Well, guess what? No. We find out yesterday that when they sat down to talk to Mr. Tenon to get him, hey, I want to confess, Mr. Tenon said all of 251 words ever. And he didn't give any specifics. He just was saying yes or no to answers or to questions. The queen of ask the right questions and not listen to the bullshit we're getting told. Respect, Lana. Thank you. Anjanette doesn't have sound either. Huh? Yeah, there's no sound. Ridic. Look at that. Let me see if we go to First Coast News if they tweeted anything. I'm going to start tagging that in my stuff. First Coast News. No. Bastards. At first. Okay, here. What happened to the sound in the Gardner? Okay, I just wrote them. Get on it. Bullshit. Let's go to okay, here it was. Okay, Defendant Mario's list of pending motions. So what was supposed to be talked about today was number 1 is motion to adopt in part Defendant Gardner's motion for sanctions due to continued discovery violations. The defense requests this motion to be held. Joint motion to compel discovery. The defense requests this motion to be held. Then they did the death penalty. That's all moot now because they tossed it. So there's nothing to be seen there. Defendant's notice to the court regarding questioned evidence reports. Fernandez's Google returns. Comes now the defendant Mario Saldana by and through his undersigned counsel and notices the court to pursue its order of January 29, 2025. Second amended order granted defendant's motion for protective order and order establishing a filter procedure for electronic device or evidence. That on or about November 19th, 2025, counsel for Mr. Fernandez received a hard drive from Thomas C. Gano containing a redacted version of Mr. Fernandez's 2 Google returns. Mr. Gano previously provided an unredacted version of Mr. Fernandez's Google returns. The redacted version provided on November 19, 2025 was searched for privileged attorney-client communications, and no such communications were found. Therefore, Mr. Fernandez has no objection to the disclosure of the redacted version of Mr. Fernandez's 2 Google returns to the state of Florida and counsel for Gardner. Okay. Can't believe that they're still fucking around with that. It's been years. Motion to compel production of co-defendant jail communications and inmate mail. They were trying to get Henry Tenon stuff. Because all that stuff was now it's not. That's so weird. Now that he decided, like, hey. This case is a fucking mess. All right, guys. We're good. Let me check my email really quick. Oh, wow. I'll get more shit. All right, I have a bunch of new stuff here with the Idaho 4 case, so I'll be starting a live here. Xana's DoorDash placed at 9:15. Yeah. What else do we got? 401. Got that. Okay. 401. Okay. All right. If they put this out with, maybe they had like hold off on playing it with the sound until something was checked. I don't know. So then it could be possibly re-uploaded with the sound. If that happens, I'll go back live to put that out there. Yeah, I got some stuff that just came in through my email with the Idaho case, so I'm going to put some new stuff out. Told you this case is a shit show. God damn. All right, join me back here. Thank you guys. Until next time. Peace. Peace.